Welcome to Resume Storyteller with Virginia Franco, bringing you interviews with industry experts and regular folks who tested the job search waters and succeeded, and strategies to tell your story and land you job interviews in 60 days, guaranteed. Here's your host, Virginia Franco.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Resume Storyteller podcast. I have with me today pro networker and LinkedIn guru Jeff Young, who I've been a fan of for several months now on LinkedIn. Jeff has taught nearly 200 free LinkedIn workshops in just the past 3 years. As a former director and account manager with Intellinex, an eLearning venture of Ernst Young, he helped to manage and mentor thousands of people across lots of different organizations. And then after retiring, he began a new chapter of his life and decided to volunteer his time being a teacher and the LinkedIn guru to train professionals on how to harness LinkedIn to network. So, Jeff, thank you so much and welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. As I said before, I discovered your podcast because you actually had another gentleman that I'm friends with in the Boston area on by the name of Bob McIntosh.
Yep. Shout out to Bob.
And absolutely. I will always shout out to Bob. And that's kind of how this thing works, especially from a LinkedIn and social media perspective.
That's right. No, LinkedIn is the platform to sort of catapult you into more, not face-to-face, but at least voice-to-voice conversations.
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's a wonderful networking tool.
So how did you make the jump from E&Y to what you're doing now?
Well, my last job wasn't really E&Y. I spent about a little bit over 3 years in my local environment here, being a project manager. And the reason I'm doing this now is pretty much basically because I retired. But retirement to me, one of the nicest compliments anybody could ever give me is, Jeff, you are one of the busiest retired guys I know. So from that perspective, I decided that my next chapter would be something that I love to do, which has always been teaching. And I also wanted to continue networking. So from that perspective, I asked my network, well, what's the best networking tool out there to network with others? And they didn't really come up with Facebook. They came up with LinkedIn because of the professional concentration of LinkedIn. And I said, well, that's it. Then I'm going to start using LinkedIn. And I guess the thought process I went through was that if I'm going to learn how to use this tool, the best way for me to learn how to use this tool is to teach it to other people. And so that's what I started doing about 12 years ago. And I was just looking at it the other day. It's interesting. If you took 12 years times 12 months times 5 sessions or seminars a month times an average of about 10 people, we are talking about thousands and thousands of people that I've actually helped with.
Wow. So you were learning it along the way while you were teaching it, sort of growing and learning at the same time.
And I still am. LinkedIn is one of those kind of things that you're just never going to, some people wonder why I call myself the LinkedIn guru. Actually, I never did call myself that originally. Someone else called me that, and I really rather prefer that than expert, because if you are trying to find a LinkedIn expert, sometimes I joke about the fact that if you can find a LinkedIn expert, you better give them $1. Because
it changes too fast to be an expert, and it takes a village to keep up with it.
Absolutely. And that's another reason to network out there and talk with folks like you and talk with folks all over the world, which is kind of neat. And I am definitely doing that on a pretty much daily basis. And those folks keep me honest and keep me up to date. It's great.
No, that's why I follow you and several others, because there's no way one person alone can keep up with all of the changes that seem to come down the pike regularly. So you wrote an article a few years ago, which is how I think you and I started. I think this came up on one of our posts. It was called 5 Things You Can Do on LinkedIn in 20 Minutes a Day. You wrote it years ago, but it's definitely applicable today. The first item on your list was to peruse your LinkedIn feed to see what people are up to. But you also urged people not to spend too much time on there. So I guess my first question to you is, how much time is too much? When is it time to walk away?
Well, that's a personal decision, but for me personally, it's really not much more than 5 minutes. If you're going to engage with people, you can do that in 5 minutes, and then the rest of the time is spent someplace else. And I especially think that since this is a networking tool, to me, networking, well, let's just call it a contact sport. Yeah, exactly. That's an old joke, like kind of like me.
I like it.
But my point being is that it gets to be too much time if it's interfering with me going out and actually meeting up with people and learning that way and being able to help people in the community. So I'm not going to spend. I actually try to avoid that black hole that will suck you in, and you could literally spend all day on LinkedIn. But I don't want you to spend all day on LinkedIn. I want you to spend some time each day on LinkedIn, but not all day for sure.
So how should people avoid going down that homepage black hole?
I think you really just do have to set a personal time limit. You've got to interact with as much as you can, and when it gets to be a certain amount of time, then you just kind of got to quit and go on to do something else, because you literally could spend all day doing it. It would be easy to do, and it's educational. I mean, the good news is, well, some people don't even want to go to their homepage anymore because they think all they get on their homepage is spam. And, my response to those folks is, you know what, you're obviously connected with the wrong folks.
Right.
And also you're not teaching LinkedIn how to give you what you want in the first place, which will also help you skinny down the amount of time that you have to spend on your homepage. I make a joke about this as well in my classes. I talk about I'd like to introduce you to a relative of mine on LinkedIn. His name is Uncle Al. His full name is Algorithm. And basically, I'm just saying, look, Uncle Al can be that crazy uncle sometimes that you just really don't want to spend any time with because he's nuts.
That has all those lame jokes and cartoons, right?
Yeah, exactly. So from that perspective, just the good news is that I am living proof that you can teach Al what you want to see on LinkedIn. And the more you teach it, the less time you have to spend looking for what you're interested in finding.
And so teaching, are you talking about how, I know with Google, you select certain articles and then suddenly other articles like that tend to come up on your homepage. Same goes with LinkedIn?
That's exactly right. You do that through doing the three things that you can do on any post that's out there on the homepage, and that is either like or comment or share. And it used to be that I taught this in the algorithm, of course, is another thing that LinkedIn loves to change all the time. So it used to be that I said, like it's good.
This podcast has a timestamp of 2019.
Say again, I'm sorry.
I was saying we have to timestamp this podcast because the algorithm changes so frequently.
Oh, absolutely, yes. So I used to say that the like is good, comment is better, and share is best. Well, that's not really true anymore. Like is still good, but like's just not enough because that's no engagement. Like is not joining the conversation. I see that on my homepage feed where people in my network like something all the time, but if that's all they did to it, my first question becomes, well, what did you like about it? Tell me a little bit about what you thought was cool so that, maybe it might apply to me. So that's why comment is so much better. And comment really joins the conversation, just like you and I. That's how you and I first met, is going through the process of commenting on one another's posts, and it becomes a conversation. And again, that conversation, could go on for a while as well, but usually it doesn't. Usually it's just you're making a point. And I think it's another great way that from that homepage, it's a good place for you to build your brand as well, because you can add your 2 cents worth. You can kind of a proof of knowledge, if you will. And nobody has to agree with everything you say, but having a discussion about something is how you learn. So
in terms of a couple of action items that you can take on your homepage, you're a proponent of training your LinkedIn by liking or ideally commenting, secondarily liking and sharing to train it, educate yourself, and also cement your brand along the way.
Absolutely.
Is that right? Okay.
The share used to be better because the shares used to get you more points. I mean, they used to talk about this, the experts, again, I'll put that in quotes. You can't see me put it in quotes. But the experts used to say that, sharing something is the best because you get credit for it and you give credit to someone else for it. Well, that's all well and good, except that now the algorithm kind of ignores shares almost.
Why do you think that is? I don't understand the logic behind why that changed. Do you have any insight?
I don't either. I think it may have been more than anything else a defense mechanism, if you will, on LinkedIn's part. They just cannot keep track of all of it. There's just so many millions of people doing millions of things that I think it's less difficult for them to keep track of all that and tell you what happened as far as your share is concerned. So they kind of cut down on it, but they're really good about telling you what happens as far as likes and comments is concerned. That's
true. That makes a lot of sense. It's too bad because sharing is really, I mean, it's an honor when someone shares your comments.
Absolutely.
It's a lot that you take that extra step,
Sharing is caring. Yep.
Yes, there you go. So you speak about the power of LinkedIn to get found, and you make reference in your article to the Who's Viewed Your Profile capability as a way to capitalize on this. I have had the paid version for so long that I don't remember. Can you utilize Who's Viewed Your Profile if you have a free account?
Yes, you can. And that is one of the major things that people talk about is one of the differences between paid and a premium account and free account. Even if, and this still applies to most people because most people are not like you and I. They're not getting as many views as we are. Okay.
Right.
But even so, I'm still using the free version because that even though you have a free version, you can go out there and you can see the last 5 people who have viewed your profile. Okay. Now, on a pretty normal basis, I'll go out there and I'll look at those last 5 people, and 3 of them, maybe to 4 of them, are real people, and another one is a partially anonymous or a totally anonymous person.
Right.
That's one of the reasons that people think that they could pay for LinkedIn and get to know who those anonymous people are. Not going to happen. Okay, so there's no reason to pay for it if you're trying to find out who those anonymous people are. And the real thing that starts the conversation is, I wonder why this person looked at me. Really, when you get this really started, you're going to have people looking at you, honestly, from all over the world. And you're not going to have any inkling about why they looked at you. But if you look at them and then there's a reason for you to connect, it's a really good avenue for you to make another connection, whether that be local or virtual. So it still works really well, and it still works for free. What most people, I mean,
with paid, you get more. With paid, you see more than 5 people.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm doing my classes, most of the people who are out there on LinkedIn are not using it very much anyway. So guess what? I ask, okay, how many hits do you get a week? And they go, 5. And I'm going, oh, well then how many times would you have to go out onto LinkedIn to see who's viewed your profile? Once a week.
Right.
Yeah. And when you come back to the payment for LinkedIn is concerned, yes, there are reasons to pay for LinkedIn. I'm not going to go into the details of them, but there are reasons not to pay for LinkedIn as well, because 95% of the people I have in my classes haven't even scratched the surface of what you can do with the free version. So I honestly have to ask the question, so how would paying for it make you any better at it?
Yeah, you don't know what you're doing.
Don't spend your money, spend your time learning how to utilize it, and maybe you'll discover that you don't even have to pay for it. Or, and I tell people to do this too, I advise people, if you want to, go out and, yes, take the month's worth of premium for free. But if you're going to take the month's worth of premium, if you're going to take the month's worth of premium for free, then beat it up. Figure out what you get for your dollars. Because at the end of that month, they're going to charge you for it. So do yourself a favor. Yeah. Beat on it, figure out what good it might be to pay for it. And oh, by the way, when it gets to be 5 days before they're actually going to charge your credit card, I don't care what it takes, put Post-it notes on your refrigerator, or put neon signs on your garage.
Yeah,
Tell you
know when to cancel. Otherwise, you're in for another 60 days. That's true. Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, that's a really good point. And I think that if you do try to do the 30-day trial, pick a month when things are slower so you can really dive deep and see if it's worth it. I grandfathered in at such a cheaper rate that, for me, it's a no-brainer, but pricing is much different now. So when people have, they look and they see that there's 5 people and maybe 2 or 3 of them show some promise, what steps do you recommend a job seeker take to engage with them and try to turn that into a more meaningful connection?
You've got to absolutely go look at them, first of all, to figure out whether there is a connection.
Yeah.
So yes, you definitely have to go look at their profile. And yeah, they will see that you looked at their profile if they're paying attention. Okay, so yes, you go out and you actually look at them and figure out if there's something there. And then there's a couple of avenues that you can take. I like the fact that LinkedIn will give you the opportunity to actually connect with someone, okay, if you go to their profile and connect the right way, which is go to their profile and click the connect button. Mm-hmm. And that will then, and the proper way to do this is not to click the connect button anywhere else on LinkedIn, but click it on their profile, because that way you get a chance to actually add a note and tell the person what it was that you found interesting about them.
Yeah.
Don't
do it on mobile. I always forget to do the customized request on mobile. It's too easy to skip it.
Oh, yeah, it's so easy to do. So when you get a generic request, it's probably not their fault. It was probably something LinkedIn fostered them doing, which again, just like that, you made the comment about why they changed the algorithm the way they did. Mm-hmm. I have no idea that forever and ever LinkedIn has given the ability to actually send a generic invitation. I just don't think it's the proper etiquette.
I agree.
Okay, so if you got lucky enough, and you have a good enough network to go to this person's profile and see that they're a second-degree connection, you can click the connect button. You can send them a note and say, "Oh, we have a couple of common connections, and I saw your stuff, and I really think what you just said about whatever that was in that article, 5 things you can do on LinkedIn in 20 minutes a day. It was brilliant. Can we discuss it some more?" Okay, that's a way of directly connecting. But if you're a second-degree connection, I want to give everybody this is I think what I would call my $64 tip. If you are looking at a second-degree connection, another thing that you can do there, instead of, if you don't want to try to the direct connect approach, is that I'm doing all this on the desktop and through a browser. You can't do most of what I'm talking about on the phone, which is why I almost never spend very much time on the phone except looking around. If you are on someone's profile page and you want to try to get referred to them by someone you already know, take your cursor, go down and point at that little box that says messaging, click messaging, and guess what magic happens when it pops up? The people that are second-degree connections that know this other person pop up to the top. So now you can choose one of those people and send them a message that says, "Hi, Joe. I see you know Jill. Would you be willing to introduce me to Jill on LinkedIn or elsewhere?" It doesn't have to happen on LinkedIn. The key is to make the connection. So that's a really powerful tool that you can get a referral from somebody that you already know.
I never knew that. How many years have I been on LinkedIn? I never knew that was the quick way to see the second-degree connections.
Well, you can't see them all.
I've always done it the slow way. Good Lord, that's so smart. Okay. And keep going, because a lot of times people don't always know the people in their network, but they keep on trying until you find someone that, yes, I know them well enough to make that introduction.
That's a very good point. Thank you very much, because when I teach this, I also talk about the fact that you may actually be connected to, and we all know this acronym. Most other people do too, LIONS. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and LinkedIn Open Networker means that if you can fog a mirror, they'll connect with you. You can be dead, and they'll connect with you. Okay, so those people really, if you're trying to get a lion to introduce you, that's not going to be very fruitful, because they're just going to tell you they don't know them. So you got to choose one.
So you've made the connection. Let's assume they connect, and then you take it. That's when you launch into your your ask, request for more information, request to have a more meaningful conversation. Is that sort of the next step?
Yes, and I like the way you said that, a request to have a more meaningful conversation, whether that person be next door or whether they be, across the pond in the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
One thing that I want to make sure, and a lot of people do this because a lot of people are using LinkedIn for sales, okay? What I want to make sure people understand that in my philosophy anyway, and in most experts' philosophy, okay, connecting with someone, then sending them a message that says, "Thank you for connecting. Would you like to buy my widget?"
Yeah,
is a better. Nope, it just doesn't work. Nobody likes to be sold to. There's a guy in Australia that I love dearly. Shout out to Dale Griffin. Okay, if you want to know, look Dale up and follow him. Believe me. But he approaches this. He approaches this from a wonderful standpoint. First of all, he says LinkedIn is a marathon, not a sprint. Okay. Secondly, he says build a network, not a database. And thirdly, he says add value, not noise.
Oh, I love that.
These have spoken to me since the very first time I ever saw him and then connected with him. And it is outstanding.
And his name, tell me again his name.
Darrell Griffin. Yeah, Darrell Griffin. Darrel Griffin.
Yeah. That's so wise. I've always felt, and I'm dating myself here, that LinkedIn it's the old Rolodex. And you don't take a Rolodex card and immediately launch into a pitch. You use it to cement a relationship.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, usually when I use the word Rolodex in my seminars, I say I'm old enough to know what a Rolodex is.
Sad they left.
Yeah, so I'm not saying you're dating yourself, but I'm dating myself. That's what it is. Because it's not about that. It's not about building a Rolodex. It's not it is about building a relationship.
Yeah.
And that's really where sales really flies from now. Honestly, when I get somebody who asks me a question about selling through LinkedIn, I say, you know what? LinkedIn is selling without selling, which to me is really the definition of the term that's come up now, social selling.
That's right.
Key word social here.
That's right. And as a job seeker, you're selling yourself, but you.
Oh, absolutely.
You can't ask for a job. Nobody wants to help you find a job. But people are willing to give advice, share expertise that can lead to opportunities.
Well, and by the same token, if you're absolutely right. I about 60% of the seminars I do focus on just job seekers, not businesses, although I do those as well, or chambers of commerce and those kinds of things. But from a job seeker perspective, it's the same process. You just connected with someone. You do not send them a message that says, "Thanks for connecting. Can you get me a job?" Right. That's just not how it works. They don't know you well enough to get you a job.
That's right. They don't know what you're doing. Absolutely. No, I agree. So you talk a lot, you speak a bit in your article as well about being sure to check and respond to your notifications. What's your view on the proper etiquette around what you should respond to, what if you can ignore, how long is too long to respond? Because everyone does it all differently, right?
Yeah, everyone does it slightly differently. I've had lots of conversations with people who are getting lots of them like I am. But I believe that it is absolutely necessary to not ignore them. Some people have to. I get that. They have jobs, they have businesses, and I've honestly asked some of the folks that I know in other countries that you must get just hundreds of or thousands of notifications. How do you process them all? And they say I don't. So, but I believe. Well, all right. I'll give you an example though. I was off and out of town a little bit on Sunday, and got back. And this morning, when I opened up my LinkedIn, I had 75 notifications. Now, I'm not bragging. That's just that's what happens.
Right.
Now, I believe that. Well, and what I did with those notifications is I spent the time there, because I think this is more important really than even spending time on your homepage. I spent the time there to make sure I did respond to every one of them. but it depends on what the notification is about as to how you respond. So, for example, if someone liked one of my posts, they just click the like button. I respond to that, but I don't respond with a message. I respond by looking at their profile. So I'm paying them back by giving them a hit on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Which is easy to do. Oh, and by the way, there's a little trick that I use here too. Here may be one that you don't. This has nothing to do with LinkedIn. This is a browser trick. Okay. While I'm sitting in my notifications, if I see that someone has liked it, okay, I do not click on the notification itself. I hold down the control key. Now, if you're a Mac user, that's a command key. Okay, so I know the difference. Okay, so control key and click their picture. And you know what that does? It opens up their profile in another tab.
Oh, so you don't have to keep going back and forth.
Exactly. You broke the code in one.
Oh, so my goodness.
I can pay them without going anywhere else. I don't lose my place.
Right.
Now, the major problem with most of this stuff is if you click on any of these notifications, you do lose your place to some degree.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So another tip that I use as far as notifications is concerned is I go down as far as it takes to get to the ones that I haven't responded to so far because they're in chronological order, right? So go down to the bottom, click there, do what I need to do, and then come back and go down to the bottom again. Now, so I spend obviously a lot of time scrolling, but it's worth it. Because when someone has actually commented on something, you need to go back there and acknowledge that comment.
Yeah.
And when you're clicking on it, LinkedIn will take you to where it is. Sometimes, not always. There's some tricks to the trade of this as well, because sometimes LinkedIn doesn't show you the exact place, but you got to find it. And then you can respond to that comment with a comment of your own with nothing more than, I believe, with nothing more than thank you for joining the conversation is okay there. Okay. It's about quality, not quantity. So the quality of your comment, the quality of what you do there. And I thank people a lot because, honest to goodness, I think that's a part of your brand as well. I teach branding classes, how to brand yourself through LinkedIn. And I say, you know what? Your brand begins with 2 words. Thank you.
Please and thank you. Oh, and please and thank you. That never goes out of style.
It never, ever goes out of style.
What are your thoughts? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, so it depends on what the conversation is and if someone mentioned you, for example, I still believe even that's not a comment about you. They mentioned you, so it behooves you to go back and say thanks for the mention and join their conversation briefly.
Yeah.
Each of these things. Okay, so I had 75 right this morning. It did take me about an hour to get through all of those. But that's the best hour I could spend on LinkedIn because that is actually interacting with my network.
Yeah.
So 75 done in 60 minutes. Yeah, I know that's a lot, but believe me, it pays back dividends. I could not tell you how much because I've started so many conversations like the one you and I started. It's gotten me connections out of this that are just the most fabulous people in the world. And it just amazing the fruit that it bears if you actually spend that time.
Yeah, no, I concur. I treat comments like I do an email. I will respond to them. I try to respond within 24 hours, but when I'm gone, I've struggled with, I was just at a conference all last week, and I found myself on my phone probably more than I would have liked. What are your thoughts? I've seen a couple people do this, where they put an out-of-office message in the top of their profile or in their headline.
It's not a bad idea. Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I think that's a bad way to do that.
I might do that next time as well.
Yeah, just change your headline to, save your old profile headline.
Save the old one.
Headline. Yeah, save your old one, and then put something of it. It isn't going to alleviate all of the problem because most people don't look before they leave. So
that's true.
Yeah. So again, what I wish is that LinkedIn would do something on their own. I mean, come on, Microsoft owns this thing.
I know, right? They own the Outlook. It seems to me they could do that. I know, same. And hopefully that's coming.
Maybe.
Yeah, but no, I agree. So always comment, never ignore. And when you get back, don't. Your time is better spent replying than scrolling, using that extra time you have.
I agree. And how long is too long? Well, I don't think too long is too long. Because again, here's another thing that is kind of become a part of my brand or the way that I do this as well, is that if I'm commenting back, LinkedIn is so glitchy, let's just say, okay, because it is a software program. This is not going to work the same way every single time, honestly. It's just not. So one of the things that I also do is that I make sure that if I commented back to someone, I actually mention them. I tag them. So that they'll see the comment, no matter when I comment.
Right. And it's okay to say, sorry, I'm taking so long to get back. I was out of town.
Yeah, sure. Life happens. And, you've got other things to do. Most people understand that they as well have other things to do than spend time on LinkedIn all day. So
that's right. Okay. So you mentioned earlier that you do work with quite a bit of job seekers. What do you see as sort of a couple of challenges that you see those facing or testing the job search waters for the first time in a while, or people that are looking to make a career change? Is there something that you see sort of as commonplace?
I think one of the major challenges that people are facing, and I don't care how old or young you are, it's the proper use of social media in your job search. And by proper use, I'm really talking about leveraging that as a networking tool. Some folks who have not been in the job search, they just don't know how. So the process has changed, and continues to change. But social media has become such a part of it. And I'll include all social media. But literally, when it comes to job seeking, again, I think it's pretty much been proven that LinkedIn is the place to be. So if you're going to concentrate someplace, I'd concentrate on LinkedIn. And it's understanding how to use the tool so that you can actually build a brand, okay, so that you can actually sell yourself without seeming like, me, like you're tuning up to sing at the opera.
Without feeling like a narcissist, right?
Yes, that's a turnoff as well. So so there's a fine line there. But but I get around that fine line because most of what I talk about on LinkedIn is not me. It's kind of related to me, but it's about somebody else.
You're sharing knowledge.
Sure. Well, one of the things that I'm trying to do is provide tips, and one of the things I'm trying to do is point people at other people, just like I did earlier when I mentioned Mr. McIntosh and Mr. Griffin.
Yeah. So since you do work with all age groups, do you feel like the more digitally native generations, like millennials and I guess Gen Zers, are they more adept at this, or are they using it incorrectly but in a different way?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand. You mean talking about age groups as younger or older?
So you said no matter how old or how young you are, and I know baby boomers and Gen Xers, social media and professional life shouldn't overlap. That's sort of what we were taught. But then, so I was curious if more digitally native generations, the younger folks, are they more adept at using social media, or are they using it incorrectly because they've only ever used Snapchat or whatever?
Yeah. No, it's a really good point, because I think, as I said, the baby boomers and the Gen Xers are not used to it. And so they think that I've got to be all formal and most of the types of problems that baby boomers and Gen Xers have is instead of making it social, they just make it their resume.
Yeah.
I used to be an executive recruiter for about a year in one of the chapters of my life. And honestly, I never saw a resume I liked. Not really. Don't get me wrong. Some people do really good jobs of this, but I never saw a resume I really liked because they're boring. No, I apologize.
It's more fun to write LinkedIn profiles.
Well, yeah, and if they come to someone like you, they are not boring. That's the whole point. And from that perspective,
it's still more boring than LinkedIn, though. I'll give you that.
Yeah, exactly. And so from that perspective, though, the mistake they make is they put their resume on LinkedIn, and they think, and then they think they're done. It's a field of dreams. If I build it, they will come.
Right.
Nope. Okay, so they don't get so baby boomers and Gen Xers don't get social enough. Now let's talk about the other groups. Okay, the Snapchatters and the millennials and those kind of things. they're almost too social. They're not really professional enough, depending on how you look at it. There are emojis all over the place. They're talking about their cats. I'm sorry. That's what Facebook
You're right.
is for.
It's the older generations, the lines are so separate, but the younger ones, they're blurred. And it's a fine line, right, when we've got a multi-generational platform.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Well, and honestly, I've actually done posts on this one as well. I'm trying to get to those folks who don't get personal enough, if you will, by saying, look, it's okay to be human on LinkedIn too, because people buy human. They're really, when it comes down to it, they're going to see that you have to be a human being in order to be a part of their organization, because they don't really like hiring. Honestly, they're not going to hire robots unless it's going to be a repetitive job and that does nothing but put slot A into tab B and, et cetera. Mm-hmm. So you need to be personal out there as well, but don't go too far in sharing. There are some folks out there that only share personal posts. They're only sharing their personal challenges. They're only sharing their weight problems or someone has been mean to me on LinkedIn problems. I'm sorry, get over it. Go on, leave that one where it belongs in the dust and concentrate on talking to the people.
No, but I hear you saying there needs to be a balance, human and personal, without oversharing.
Yep. And again, I may step over the bounds sometimes, but I tell you what, I'm what's known as, you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm talking about when I say the term left brainer? Yep. Okay. Meaning I'm pretty text oriented and et cetera, and I'm very logical, et cetera. That's how I was successful being a project manager for the most part. But I have trained myself to use things that make me more personable on LinkedIn. There's this thing called Bitmoji. You've probably seen these. And almost every single one of my posts, comments, or whatever has a Bitmoji associated with it, because I'm trying to be a little humorous, and it helps me do that. Okay, or a picture of some sort that that will make my point. It has to be contextual, but it also makes my point, because that makes me more personal on LinkedIn. And sometimes when I introduce myself, I say, "Hi, I'm a teacher. What's your superpower?" Okay, as well. And that. So you're right.
Pictures and humor are great ways to help that struggling. Right.
Sometimes when I'm going to respond and I'm going to say something like that, you're going to see me in a cape out there. Seriously. That may be too far, but
no, I feel like, wait, didn't I see a picture of you with a superhero cape on some?
You probably saw me in a Superman t-shirt and a cape at one point in time, if you've been looking at me long enough. Yep.
I feel like it was with Shelley Elsinger, maybe. I can't remember. I have to go back and look. It was just recently.
Shelley and I have become, great shout out, Shelley Elsinger, okay? Yeah. Shelley and I have become so friendly, okay, even though she's in Toronto and I'm here in Columbus, Ohio, and we've never physically met, that we buy the same T-shirts. We both have a T-shirt that says, "I'm a teacher, what's your superpower?" We both have a T-shirt that says, "My cape is in the wash."
That's what all right, that is what I saw. No, I saw something related to a cape. This must have been something with the T-shirts. Okay.
And you talk about making points with me. She shipped me something that I just had to share long ago, and that was a picture of me, my face superimposed over a Superman costume, and her as the LinkedIn Wonder Woman. And I used that one pretty frequently.
That's what it was. That is what I saw. It was that picture. Okay. And that was just a couple weeks ago that I saw it.
So I call her the LinkedIn Wonder Woman. And,
I love that.
When you really get to the bottom line on this kind of thing, Shelley and I have never met one another. We've been connected for like 2 or 3 years now. But last year...
You probably feel like you know her.
Exactly. And, by the way, we exchanged Christmas presents last year.
Oh, my goodness.
It's just one of those things. Okay, because you can become really good friends with somebody that you never actually have met. And that's the beauty of social media in general, but it's a really good place to use LinkedIn for that as well.
No, and I have so many relationships that I value tremendously where I've never met them face to face. So what advice do you give someone who has been job hunting and it is not going well? Where do you recommend they get started in terms of using LinkedIn?
Well, get help, I would think, first of all.
Okay.
And I offer help. I do not do one-on-one training. I've got people I refer people to for that, in a local environment. But you can do that virtually as well. I think my best advice is, if it's not, well, first of all, let's jump back to the very roots of that question. If it's not going well, change something.
Yeah.
Don't keep doing the same thing over and over again. And I'm sorry, I got to go to Einstein on this one. Okay?
That's right.
Because
no, definition of insanity.
Is the definition of insanity, right? I mean, most people actually know that quote, thank goodness.
Yeah.
But knowing it and living it are two different things.
That's true. That's true.
So change something up. Now, changing something up, maybe go get a coach. Changing something up, maybe hiring someone to help you with your resume and your LinkedIn profile at the same time, because that person will hopefully be smart enough to know the difference. I know you know the difference, okay? So I would hire you in terms of, I'll let you handle my resume, but I want you to help me with my LinkedIn profile as well, okay? Yeah. And that way you can maximize the both of the platforms. So if it's been going badly, you have got to change something up. You've got to
shake things up,
and you've got to get out and you've got to interact with other people. I'll tell you what. One of the things that one of the ways I got my start was I was actually I went through the process and then went back to an organization that's a local organization here. I won't necessarily give them a plug, but it was a local organization that was for job search training here in Columbus, Ohio, and I went back to them to help them actually leverage LinkedIn, because that's what people needed most. And one of the things that they provided, though, was this. They had this thing on every Friday that they called something called Job Circle. Now, what Job Circle meant was that everybody who's a member of the organization gets together, or who wants to, participates, gets together on Friday, and they talk about what worked that week, what didn't work that week, and gets new ideas. I got to put this on a personal basis because I know where these people are coming from, because at one point in my life, I actually spent 14 months looking for a job.
Wow.
That was a lovely roller coaster. If you like roller coasters, you're going to love this one. Okay. The point was, if it hadn't been for an organization like this, where I could go in every single Friday and get a new idea, okay, yeah, I would have been a basket case. Something new to try every single week, because sooner or later you're going to find something that works for you and works well out in the market.
Right.
Make sense?
Yeah, you got the help. Yeah, no, it does. It does. So my penultimate question, I suppose, is what I want to ask you next. You talked about the people that build it and they will come. So tell those people, we see them all the time. They have a bare bones profile. They really haven't used LinkedIn beyond that. One or two steps that someone can take to get started.
Okay. Yeah. Good one. First of all, again, the idea here is that, honestly, if you're not going to do anything and you are only going to build a bare bones profile, I would honestly like you to just delete your LinkedIn profile.
Really?
Because it's more of a detriment than it is a help. Okay. Now, to get started, I'll give you what I call my top 5, okay, or the big 5. First of all, from the approach that bare bones, if you've got nothing but bare bones, do these 5 things. Do these 5. Concentrate on these 5 things, and I think you will actually see a huge amount of difference. First of all, there's this thing called a background photo or banner.
Yeah.
Okay? That's number 1, because that's at the top of the page. This is one where people miss this boat all the time. I did a little straw poll the other day, just out of curiosity. I went to my network. I clicked on my network, went down and looked at the recommendations that LinkedIn makes of people you might want to connect to, and I just chose 20 people at random, and to see what kind of profile they actually had. Back to the banner, because 16 out of those 20 people didn't even have one. No, it was that blue star field that is no differentiation at all, and is, well, there's that generic word again, okay? and everybody can be generic. You need to distinguish yourself. So that's a big place where you can distinguish yourself. And there's all kinds of, I could go on and on and on about the proper approach to doing it, but just get one and get somebody to help you build one that will brand you.
Yeah, or go to Canva. It's free. Pick LinkedIn banner, pick a cool picture. Yep, exactly. Okay.
Absolutely, yes.
So customized banner, number one.
Here's a good one. Go out and look up LinkedIn banner templates on Google. You would be surprised how many of these things are actually out there now. So you can build your own template. So banners, number one.
Okay.
Obviously, right next to your banner and of extreme importance as well is your picture. Yep. Okay, you've got to have a professional picture, and I think as Shelley Elslinger would say, it needs to be a headshot, and it needs to be of you and only you.
Yes.
Okay? Because I see so many people who will take an old photo and they will crop that photo, and they got the picture out there, but they've got this ghost hand on their shoulder.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know. Yeah. I do feel like that's getting better. I used to see that more often than I do now.
Yeah.
I'm seeing the trend in the right direction.
Yeah, at least now most people have one. And I talk about this. You know, I mention Facebook in some of my seminars as well, and I say, by the way, you and your kitty cat Fluffy belong on Facebook, not here on LinkedIn. That's personal. That is, of course, unless that's a part of your brand. Okay, because I have a friend of mine.
If you sell cat supplies, that's different.
Bingo. I have a friend of mine who owns a business called Paws of Love Treats, and guess what she has next to her on her picture? A picture of her dog.
That's right. Perfect. Totally appropriate. Right.
Yep. Number 3 of the big 5 is your name. LinkedIn, for those who are not in the know, actually has this thing called a user agreement. And inside of LinkedIn's user agreement, it says the only thing that should be in your name is your name. No emoticons, no emojis, no graphics of any sort. As a matter of fact, it's actually a detriment if you put graphics in there because it's harder to find you if you do that. As a matter of fact, people have proved that. Okay, so you put your name and you put the name you want to be found as. So my name out there, of course, is Jeff Young. That's a very common name, okay? But it's not Jeffrey Young because nobody calls me Jeffrey Young. Only my mother called me Jeffrey Young, and that was only when she was angry at me. Okay, and oh boy, if she ever said, Jeffrey Ray Young, get your butt in here, you knew you were in trouble because she used the middle name. Okay, so use the name that you're going to be called by and you want to be found as. Now, only your name belongs there, but it is okay, and LinkedIn will cut you some slack. If you'd like to actually put some key things in there like your certifications or your degrees, that works. That's okay.
So I got in trouble 2 months ago because mine used to say Virginia Franco, something like executive resume writer, and they made me take that off.
They did. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, did they shut your account down?
No, they gave me a notice. They take it down.
A warning shot, huh?
Yeah.
Well, several years ago, mine used to say Jeff Young, the LinkedIn guru as well, right? Guess what they did instead of warning shot to me? They shut my account down.
Did they?
They did, and it took me 2 days to get it back. After I finally found out what it was, I said, I promise I'll never do that again, LinkedIn. I'm sorry.
I know someone who, the same thing happened. So I was fortunate that I just got a threat that, just your last, your name.
Yeah.
Go full with it.
And, okay, so there's number 3, okay? Number 4 is, of course, and of course, the picture and your name and this fourth one are something that travel with you wherever you are on LinkedIn, so it's extremely important as well. It is your professional headline. And please don't waste the space by letting it be a title.
Yeah.
Make it a tagline instead, like you have in terms of the value that you offer, what it is that you do for others. And honest to goodness, I know maybe mine's a little bit too cutesy, but mine actually says, you read it, I'm a professional networker, okay? Well, it's there. I've got my hashtag.
It says, pro networker, volunteering, getting paid in 3 C's, coffee, conversation, and occasionally chocolate. Yeah. That is beautiful because it's got the keywords that someone is going to search for to look for someone like you, LinkedIn and network. And then you use the other characters to put some personality into it.
It's a conversation starter. It really is. Right. And it's really worked quite well for me. Because it leads into all kinds of other conversations. It's like, and some people actually take me at my word and they actually bring chocolate. to meet with me. It's great.
Why not?
It's better.
Yeah.
But it also starts all kinds of other things. Is if you want to pay me in something, well, pay me in a compliment. That's good. There's another C. That works.
There you go. Not enough room though. You ran out of characters.
Yeah. It's good. So don't use this just as a title. Use it as a tagline instead. I mean, literally, if you want to think about this in the right kind of terms, this should be your Nike Just Do It. It should be what people would say about you when you're not in the room. Okay. So that one's one.
And I always tell people, don't get too cutesy. Make sure that there's some keywords in there that someone would type in to search for someone like you. But once you're done with that, then you can use the rest to be more descriptive.
Yep. And the major keyword in there obviously is LinkedIn and LinkedIn Guru.
Right.
And the major keyword for me, of course, is also volunteer. And honest to goodness, when I look at how people find me, that is one of the keywords that people have actually searched for me on. So.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
Okay, so that's 4, okay? The last one, and all of these are extremely important, and they are the big 5 because they are in web terms, okay, or marketing terms. Marketing people will understand this one out there. These are all what are called above the fold. All that really means is that people can see some of all of these and they don't even have to scroll. And the last one of the big 5 is your about or your summary. Mm-hmm. And the about or summary is also where you actually get to tell your story. It should not be a copy and paste of the stuff on your resume because the bullet points don't look very good anyway. Okay, so your story out there should be a conversation to the people who come to your profile. This about section, this summary is the best place that you're actually going to have an opportunity to put something else that's a marketing term in there, and that is a call to action. Okay, so my call to action is please see more, okay, if you want to see more of me. And oh, by the way, my call to action is also follow me, because if you follow me, you might actually find yourself finding tips in your homepage feed if you actually follow what I do. So, and oh, by the way, LinkedIn, we talk about LinkedIn loves to change stuff, right? Well, the other thing then in the many, many years that I've been on LinkedIn is that LinkedIn loves to hide stuff. So they're only going to show the first 3 lines of that about section.
It's even less on mobile.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for saying it that way. I say that all the time as well, which is another reason you got to be very concentrated about what you put there, very strategic about what you put there. So that has become prime real estate. You need to use that prime real estate to get that out there, what you want people to know, and hopefully put something in those first 3 lines that will make them want to click to see more.
Right. No,
and
I love that. So banner, pick, name, headline, summary. All above the fold, like you said.
Yep. Get those 5 right, and at least you've got a fighting chance. Because honestly, get those 5 right, and you will actually differentiate yourself between you and like 95% of the people I see.
That's right. I know. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
Okay, so my very last question, which is my favorite one, what is next for you? What are you up to?
I get to, besides the fun of doing a podcast this week, I'm also going to my alma mater, which is here in this Thursday in Columbus, Ohio, and I'm going to give a seminar to Franklin University, the alumni for Franklin University. So that should be fun as well. That's the next few kind of things. And the rest of it is I'm still, going to continue to do what I'm doing, which is do about 5 seminars a month. And at this point, I'm not only fully booked through the end of the year, but I've also got like 30 seminars booked for 2020.
Wow. Okay.
So
if someone wants to learn more about you, I've got your website, LinkedInguru.com, and your LinkedIn profile. Actually, I have 2 sites for you that have got hashtag LinkedIn Guru. What's the best way for people to find you?
The best way really at this point, I would say honestly, is, well, you said you saw the website, right? I'll tell you what, do you know where the website redirects you to? My LinkedIn profile. I don't have a separate website. I don't need a separate website.
Okay, so LinkedIn is the place to connect and follow you then.
Yeah, and I think the best thing that anyone could do if they want to see more of my stuff and get all those free tips that I'm talking about out there is just go to Google and actually do a Google search for hashtag the LinkedIn Guru. It has to be the LinkedIn Guru, okay, because LinkedIn Guru hashtag was taken. So it is hashtag the LinkedIn Guru. Of course, it really fits me well. You know, it's kind of a good thing that happened because I'm sitting here in Columbus, Ohio, and there's this football team here that is called the Buckeyes. And
yeah, I've heard of them.
Well, and you probably heard of the university as well because the university here is actually called the Ohio State University.
Yes.
So it works well. I'm the LinkedIn Guru.
There you go. Perfect.
Yep. You'll find me. You'll find tons of my stuff.
Well, Jeff, thank you so much. I learned a thing or two. You've taught me a few shortcuts that are going to save me a ton of time. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on and share your knowledge. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, it was fun. I had no idea that we've been spending this long doing this. It's amazing.
I know, I feel bad. I told you a half an hour. We're almost at an hour, so thank you. I know you probably need to jump on some more calls.
No, that's fine. I appreciate it, and I have very much enjoyed being here. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Resume Storyteller with Virginia Franco. To learn more about storytelling strategies to catch the eye of today's SCIM online readers, hiring and decision makers, go to www.virginiafrancoresumes.com.